You're live.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's so good to have everybody here tonight. Tonight, you're going to be really, really blessed by Dr. Candace Corson, who has phenomenal information to share with you. That she quit her career 20 some years ago to share Juice Plus when she realized it was the food that people needed. You know, there's a time and a place for drugs, but it was really everybody needed some better food, the plant food. And so I have to share with you that Candace is such a genuine, kind, gentle person. I know most of you know that, especially I know Jerry knows that. And anytime I have reached out to her with a question or a concern or something, she gets back to me immediately. She's just that giving of a person. Tonight, you're going to learn some things that you may not know. Candace couldn't swallow capsules. So how did she take it? Another thing that was interesting is, when do you start giving it to the babies? She has a timeline for that, and I thought that was very interesting. And then she explains why Juice Plus does not replace fruits and vegetables. So I'll leave you hanging there, and we'll listen to see what Candace has to say. And she talks for about 20 minutes, and then if you want to stay on, she answers questions. The questions that were asked were very good. So I recommend you stay on. If you can't, you can always listen to the recording, but I hope you join us for the whole thing tonight. All right, Kathy.
Her bio, and I'll turn it over to her. Dr. Candace Corson is a Presidential Marketing Director Plus. She received her college and medical degrees from Yale University. She was the first woman at Yale in 1969. Wow, I didn't know that either. That is very impressive.
First class of women. Yeah, first class of women freshmen. Yeah, okay. First class.
Yeah,
that have been in. Yeah.
Very, very impressive. She was a family medicine, University of Rochester, chief resident in 1978. She's married for 47 years to Dr. George Knowles, who was an emergency medicine physician. They have 4 sons and 4 grandchildren. Served together, non-commissioned officers, U.S. Public Health Service, North Carolina. She entered functional medicine, nutritional therapy to help patients recover better from chronic illness like asthma, autoimmune disorders. She's a medical editor of the Medicinal Plants of North America. She's a health educator, nutrition, health recovery, and environmental illness, and 21 years with the Juice Plus company. So just a little snippet about her. She retired from family and functional medicine 21 years ago because she realized that she could make a bigger difference in sharing this nutrition. And I am gonna let her tell the rest of her story. So let me just find you here. Dr. Corson, there you are. I'm gonna turn it over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Christy. You're such a wonderful host. It's an honor to be here, and I'm so excited that you're recording it because I know a lot of people will watch it later. And it's we're here to help people and be of service and value. So I was asked to speak this evening on how to help people of all different ages and circumstances to feel confident and use their Juice Plus every day, because consistent eating of this wonderful plant material, plant foods, consistency is what really works for human beings. And it's seen in all the studies, now 44 published, peer-reviewed from universities, not done by the company, published in excellent medical journals. So all of those have shown great benefit to human physiology, to the baseline of how our cells function. And that elevates our health as our nutritional intensity and our nutritional excellence goes up. Well, our physiology, how we work, gets better. And that changes everything with our health, both our mental health, emotional health, that's brain function, and everything, circulation, immune function, healing, wound healing, etc. So I want to just share very briefly, want to keep this to 20 minutes, that I heard about Juice Plus the day it became available from a very dear friend who took the time to call and tell me. It was 30 years ago. Did I pay attention? I did not. I was kind and polite, and we're still friends to this day. But I had 4 little boys, and they were so little that they had to eat what we ate, you know, like little kids do. They didn't have wheels to go anywhere. And I thought I didn't need something like this. And of course, I didn't really understand the depth of it. But years went by. my children's school installed vending machines. When my youngest boys were 13 and 15 is when the vending machines arrived. And it changed my career, it changed my outlook on how I could best serve humanity, because my kids and all the others in the school, whatever plant foods they had been eating, went very basically to zero. And quickly, within the first week, my kids stopped eating apples, salads, carrots, you name it, because their tastes changed. And today we know, 21 years later, this was 21 years ago, that the pediatricians who are functional medicine, so very advanced, they've taken extra training after medical school in nutrition and how to help people. They call it metabolic programming. What we feed ourselves, we're also feeding the germs that live in our intestine. And that changes our metabolic programming. We can change it for the better, and that's adding more plant foods. We can change it for the worse. And of course, we're not trying to change it for the worse, but it really happens fast. Within days, those microbiota, those little germs, microbiome, changes quickly for the better or for the worse. And this is what happened. My kids were getting things that were giving them calories, and we do need calories, but these were what we might call junky extra calories. And without plant nutrients, they just stopped eating plants because plants did no longer taste good to them. Well, I noticed that, but then what shocked me truly was that within 4 months, my 15-year-old, who had always been in good health, developed exercise-induced asthma. Never had a trace before. And my 13-year-old came to me one day. He had developed acne during the same time period. And he asked me, "Mom, could you please write me a prescription for antibiotics for my face?" And that was it for me. I was very calm. And I said, "We'll find you something. I'll find you something even better." I didn't know what that was yet, but inside I was thinking, over my dead body, am I writing a prescription for chronic antibiotic use in my precious son or anyone else when that's not the right therapy? And that leads, extra antibiotic usage leads to a lot of problems, one of which is an increased risk of autoimmune illness. So we now know that to be true. I observed it in my other practice. I thought that was true. Now we know it is true. So we want to avoid the unhealthy use of antibiotics. And the best way to avoid antibiotics whenever feasible is to have a healthier immune system that's actually fighting the right things better and also being less inflamed against the wrong things. And so long story short, I met a new friend who was a long-term breast cancer survivor and a wonderful human being who just shared and asked me a question. If this could possibly help your kids, would you be open to seeing the medical research that doctors are doing at universities about Juice Plus? I said, I'd love to. She did wonderful follow-up. I was busy and stressed at that time, and her follow-up was essential. Probably 7 phone calls with my permission each time beforehand, over maybe 12 weeks. And I eventually said, I would love to do this with the free program. She shared that we had a children's special program called Healthy Starts for Families, where the child is added for free to the parent's order. The parent is the mentor. The child gets this for free. I thought that's very special. Now, I want to tell you the main topic I was asked to speak tonight, and it flows right into this, is the why and how of opening capsules. Is it a good idea? The answer is yes, to open the Juice Plus capsules. We're talking about the trio, because you can't open the omegas. I'm going to show you what all they look like. You can just swallow the omegas or you can chew them. These are the omega blend, made all from plants. Wonderful omega product. I think the world of it. You can chew them if you have teeth, so this would be for kids that have good molars top and bottom, or you can cut and squeeze them into organic yogurt or a smoothie or anything else you might want to eat. They taste good. But the capsules, the trio, is the vegetable blend, the fruit blend, and the berry blend. Those are easy to open. They're not sealed, and they're very easy to open. What held me up in my decision, why it took 12 weeks, was that I cannot swallow capsules. And that's an airway problem. It's not a psychological problem. And we see that, I'm very knowledgeable about this because of my own experience, about 15%, maybe 10 or 15% of healthy grown-ups and teenagers, they cannot swallow a standard size capsule. This is not a horse pill. It's a standard called double aught or 00 capsule. They can't do it, but they won't tell you that because they think that they're embarrassed. So therefore, they will not be able to place an order for Juice Plus capsules, or if they do, they will send them back. So I don't know if you've experienced that, anyone, but it's, you know, it's relatively common. I would say I estimate 10 to 15% of healthy grownups. So that held me up. And when I realized one day that I could open them, let me show you. I'm going to show you on this plate I have here. This is what the Juice Plus looks like. So these are the omegas. And then this is the fruit blend. And the typical serving is 2 a day of each blend for kids 13 and up and everybody else. And all the research has been done that way. And for kids in our free program, kids age 4 to through to 13 get 1 capsule. They can also use the chewables. The chewables are half the nutritional quality of a capsule. So it takes 2 chewables to equal 1 capsule. But they have a little bit of organic sugar, which they've got to have. That's the chewables in order to be palatable. It's very important because this is intensely good plant material without the sugar content. So it tastes like what it is. So let me go back. This is the fruit blend. This is the 2 capsules. This one has not been opened, and this one has. Now that's 1 capsule. And most people are very surprised when they try this because there's way more concentrated plant pure powder than people realize packed into that capsule. This is the berry blend, a darker purple, and this is the veggie blend. So what we do in our family and really all around the world is we start the babies at 6 months old or when they're starting baby food. A lot of babies start eating baby food instead of nursing exclusively about age 6 or 7 months. And that is a perfect time when they don't need Juice Plus. If they're nursing, babies are not ready for produce and they should be nursing exclusively, hopefully, or the best formula that could approximate that from age birth to about 6 or 7 months. But at that point, 6 or 7 months and starting to eat baby food, we put these materials, in our family, we use the fruit blend, the veggie blend, and the berry blend, all of them. Some families use a half capsule or even just touch a little bit on the end of the finger of the mom or dad and put that in the baby's mouth, just a tiny bit. We just start with the whole capsule of each one, of all of them. And we didn't use the omegas because omegas came later. Today, my grandchildren love to chew the omegas. And to this day, my grandchildren, they actually prefer the capsules opened up. They open up their capsules and put it in organic yogurt and stir it up with a little bit of raspberry jelly. And they love it. And they love to do that every day. They told me that they didn't really want the chewables anymore. This is my grandkids, because they said, Grandma, they're too sweet. Music to my ears. But I'm not putting down the chewables. They have a wonderful place. They're the next best thing after Juice Plus. Juice Plus is the dried powdered produce. It's encapsulated for 2 big reasons. One is convenience of that 85 to 90% of people. Very convenient, very easy, very safe to swallow with water. The capsule is not gelatin, it's vegan capsule, Pouliland, all plant-based. It melts at body temperature. But the other reason it's in a capsule is because if you put this wonderful dried powder in a jar or bottle, it's so dry, and that's part of the high food technology. It's so dry, it keeps it from spoiling. There's no need for preservatives. There's no water content. But when you open that capsule, ambient air has moisture, even in a very dry environment. There's always moisture, right, in the air, ambient H2O, water from the atmosphere, and it will go in there. It's basic chemistry, and it will go in there and it will create a brick, and you won't be able to get it out because it will go into that dried powder, and it will just be a solid rock. So that's why people have asked me, why is it encapsulated? Convenience for most people. It's also an oxygen barrier. And I guess that's 3 reasons. And then because it just won't work when you get the atmospheric moisture will go in there and you can't get it out of there. So that's why it's in a capsule, very easy to open. And we use that for our babies. We use it for anyone who can't swallow. They can put it in water like I do, shake it up and drink it. They can put it in their smoothie. It goes great in the Juice Plus Complete Smoothie. I have one longtime customer who sprinkles her capsules on toast. She puts the veggie ones on toast with a little bit of, she makes it like garlic toast once a day. And she puts the other ones with a little tiny bit of organic jelly, and she'll put her berry ones and her fruit ones there. And she's a person who had very severe COPD when I met her 20 years ago. That's a whole amazing story. She's alive, kicking, and looks much younger than when I met her 20 years ago. Really special. That's why she uses it every day, because it's helped her so much. So that's what we do. It goes down feeding tubes in the ICU, intensive care unit. Nurses put it down with doctor's orders. Doctors will write the order at the request of the family or patient. Once they understand what it is, what it does, how safe it is, and then it carries no sugar load, basically no salt load. It's safe for kidney failure patients as well. And when they know those numbers, which we can always get for them, they're quite amazed and quite delighted that they have something that offers this concentrated phytonutrition without the downside that they would assume would be there. It's not there. So that's really what we do with enabling people to feel comfortable taking their Juice Plus. And do you have any questions for me, Christy? I'll wrap it up there.
That was amazing, Candace. I could listen to you talk. If there's anything else that you want to share, please, we don't have to keep this like super tight to 20 minutes. You have a wealth of knowledge. Does anybody else have any questions? I have some questions, but before I ask them, I would love to see if anybody else has any questions. Feel free to come off of mute. I know we have a lot of healthcare providers on here. Joy, I see you on here. You're on my team. Any questions? Anybody at all, any moms, please come off mute, or I'll look in the chat too if you want to write your questions for Candace there. And while we're waiting for people to do that, I love the idea of the veggie toast. That sounds something that would be really good to me, and I would have never thought of that. So really appreciate you sharing that. The feeding tubes, if somebody is in the ICU or has a J tube or G tube, do they have to put it in water before they put it down the tube? Like, what is the protocol there?
Yeah, great question. Yes, it does need to go. It needs to be made into a slurry with water. Okay. So let's say the easiest way is when they're getting enteric feedings. Enteric means into the gut, like Ensure or whatever they're putting down the feedings. They can add that to it, but they need to add a little extra water so it doesn't get too thick, or they can just push it in a syringe with water in it, and then flush the tube as they would normally. I did write up a little piece. It's nothing official, but it's just a little kind of startup piece for nurses. Once they get the hang of it, I mean, they're so knowledgeable and so competent. When they try it, they go, yeah, we can do this. So it does work. The doctors have to write an order for anything that's not in their usual regimen. Well, actually everything is an order in the ICU by the physician. So, and they're legally bound, right? They're wonderful people. You guys know this, right? They care so much. They work so hard. I love them. All the healers are my tribe, the nurses, the doctors, the nurses aide, everybody. But they have to write an order, and they cannot ethically in their own heart and conscience write an order unless they know what they're writing. Therefore, my husband, Dr. George Knowles, who's double board certified in internal medicine and emergency medicine, talks often, if he can answer questions on the phone, they don't need to be on our team. We do that regardless. We're happy to help our colleagues to understand this, because one thing is they're going to get asked about Juice Plus over and over and over again into the future, because it is the premier nutraceutical on planet Earth. It really is. I'm not just saying that, it is. For those of you who have an iPhone, you can ask Siri sometimes, what is the most researched nutrition product? And she'll tell you what it is. It's Juice Plus. But they need to know, because they're going to get asked over and over. And patients have a higher regard these days for physicians who know something about nutrition. They expect them to, but it's not the physician's fault. It's missing from our training. There are very few places that are doing a good job with that. One I can mention that's doing a great job is the Cleveland Clinic. It's way out ahead. I'm so proud of them. But in general, there's no nutrition. I had no nutrition education other than how many calories you needed in the ICU through an IV, nothing else. And so they're learning along the way, and Juice Plus is a conduit for education. Don't you love that?
Yeah, it sure is. Dr. Corson, do you have a few more minutes? We have a handful of questions in the chat. Is
Sure.
it okay if I ask those?
Fine.
Okay, sure. Jeff and Jen Nolt are asking, they were asked today if Juice Plus goes towards the recommended 5 servings of vegetables.
No,
Respond to
it's a
that.
really it's a great question. It does not. And I'll tell you why. Our company, and I love this about them, it's super high integrity. They are crystal clear that Juice Plus is to bridge the gap. There is an enormous gap, and this is probably our biggest educational endeavors, to help people see and recognize in their own life the gap between what they're eating, and it's not a criticism of it. Let's say the flat out best they can do and they're a millionaire and they hire somebody to go find as many fresh, raw, all the way grown to ripeness pieces of vegetation that they can. You just cannot get as close to where we need to be today in a world that is more toxic than any of our ancestors have ever seen. We have hundreds of foreign to nature toxic chemicals thrown into our water, our rain cycle, our food, our air, everywhere by industry. This is what we do as human beings. Is it intentional? I don't think so. But the ravages are with us and increasing exponentially and daily. Babies born today have hundreds of foreign to nature chemicals you can measure in their cord blood at birth. So because of that, we need a higher quality and intensity of plants, because they are the detoxifiers for us, and they feed the good germs for us, and they dampen excess inflammation and oxidation. And these are the things that tear our health down so that we age faster than we should. We have a lot of chronic illness today. Everybody knows in our country in particular, we have some of the highest rates of illness, even in children, and yet we spend much more than any other nation on what we call healthcare. It's sick care. We need sick care, but that's all we're doing today is trying to play catch up, and it doesn't work by itself. You have to fix the foundation. So we don't say take this instead of eating. So what you want to do is eat as many vegetables and fruit as you possibly can. Variety, even our public health standard is 7 to really 9 if you're an adult, 9 to 13 different servings every single day, not just on Saturday. And for athletes, it's more, 20 servings a day. But the thing is, it's the intensity and the variety of Juice Plus that makes such a difference. So it's to bridge the gap between the best we can do and where we need to be. And most people end up eating far more produce after they're on Juice Plus, because why? Their metabolic programming changes in the right direction, the opposite of what happened to my kids with the vending machines. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes very good sense. Thank you so much. There is actually two other questions. Somebody has a potential client who has an allergy to tomatoes. Are they able to take the vegetable capsules?
It depends on what kind of allergy. When I said, I understand the question. The only kind of allergy that I feel is significant as a contraindication is what we call anaphylaxis. So anaphylaxis is a special kind of allergic reaction that is sudden and severe. It's a different part of the immune system. If they have, and it's not that common to have just an anaphylactic reaction to tomatoes. Most foods that trigger anaphylaxis are high protein foods, and people know what those tend to be. Peanuts, legumes, right? Those kind of shellfish, things with high protein. It's the proteins that tend to trigger anaphylactic reactions. So I've never seen a person yet who couldn't use Juice Plus due to allergies. The only exception is, which is a little more common, and it's still not that common, is pineapple. Pineapple is a pretty well known, for some people, they have anaphylaxis to that. And I've still known people who went ahead and took their Juice Plus capsules, even though we suggested not, they did it and they did well. But I'm not saying that. If it's my friend and they have an anaphylactic history with pineapple, I'm going to have them order the berry blend and the veggie blend, and just omit the one blend that has the tiny bit of pineapple, which is the fruit blend. So that's how we handle it.
Awesome, awesome. You mentioned COPD, and somebody else has a question that their neighbor has COPD. What Juice Plus product should they introduce her to?
I would recommend the trio, which I do for almost virtually everybody. The trio, so that would be the berry blend, the fruit, and the veggie blend. And that's what indeed helped my friend I told you about. So one of the amazing things about the Juice Plus studies is one of the studies was specifically on lung function in people who had compromised because they were smokers, and they had a distinct improvement in lung function using Juice Plus. But the other thing is it helps the immune system. So therefore, you're less likely to get a bad infection. You know, it's not a guarantee. It's like wearing your seatbelt in case you get in a wreck. You're probably going to do better with that seatbelt on. This is nutritional seatbelt, and immune function is strikingly better. If people use it consistently, that's what all the pediatricians see. That's what I've seen for myself, but endless numbers of people at better immune function. They are sick less often and less severely, especially if they're consistent every day. And the last thing about it is the way that we lose lung tissue. You want to stop cell loss. When you have COPD or any organ problem, you've lost too many cells in that organ, and that's why it's struggling, right? But it happens that the lung is exposed directly to oxygen, which is an oxidizer. And so what you want to do is stop excess oxidation and therefore stop cell loss. So it's really a triple good thing. So I hope that's helpful.
Wow, I just learned a whole bunch. Now, is there any reason why a COPD patient cannot have omegas?
No, there's no reason at all. Omegas are what make each cell membrane work properly. So our cell membranes of every single cell in the entire body, everything in the brain, our brain cells, our blood cells, our heart cells, they're all surrounded by a membrane. And the membrane is where everything happens, all the communication between cells and all the hormones and signaling agents throughout the body. So you want to have the right fats that make up, the cell membrane is made up of two thin layers of fat, one molecule thick, and a layer of water in between. It's called a lipid bilayer. So fat, water, fat, that's the cell membrane. And what the fat that the cell membrane is made out of is crucial, and it can only be made out of, I thought of this one day, it can only be made out of the fat that we eat. Hello. So you want to have the right fats, and those are omegas in the spectrum that the plants gave us. Because fish don't make it, they concentrate it from the plants at the base of their food chain. So we go directly to the base of the food chain. It's cleaner, it's safer, it's smarter, and it's just better in every way. And it's the whole spectrum, omega 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, from crushing those land seeds and also the sea plants. So it's good.
Awesome.
Good.
Very active in the chats. People are really appreciating all of the education. They said that they're learning a lot. There's one last question in the chat, Candace. There's somebody who's saying that their neighbor is drinks Ensure, and they want to know if the capsules can go in the Ensure. But I would also like, if you wouldn't mind, maybe talking about how Complete could be better than that Ensure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the capsules could definitely go into the Ensure, and they would put things in the Ensure that will never be in the Ensure or in any other drink either. The things that are in the capsules are also not in our Complete. They are concentrated phytonutrients, concentrated plants. They're micronutrients, and we need them desperately. So definitely you could put it in the Ensure. Now, I like to, I've really learned a way of communicating over my lifetime, and especially the last 21 years of working with Juice Plus, of not being confrontational. I mean, it just doesn't help anybody. So I would never say, you know, you're drinking crap. I mean, I just wouldn't say that. You know, they're doing the best they know how, and it's probably been prescribed by a healthcare practitioner who's also doing the best she knows how, or he knows how. The way I look at it, the Ensure is using a suboptimal carbohydrate, a suboptimal fat, and a suboptimal protein. And that's a whole other talk. But they could also take a look and see if they might like, and maybe even ask if they are under the care of a nutritionist or a physician, if they feel they need permission, and if they're not allergic, and I mean an anaphylactic type of allergy, if they're not allergic to soy, the non-GMO pure water wash soy that's part of the protein of the Complete, they might want to try a little bit themselves, see if they like the taste, see how it does with their tummy. They can combine them. They could certainly switch over. In our family, we would be using the Complete, and we would not be using Ensure, but I don't criticize other companies, and certainly no one's choice.
Yeah, well, you know, it's if the door's cracked open and you can get the capsules in the Ensure, that is a great place to start. I'm with you, Candace.
It is.
And maybe over time, as you educate, you know, the research and why these capsules are so good, maybe down the road you have an opportunity. Maybe you have it right away, maybe not. But I always ask the question in terms of, if somebody says they're allergic, I say, well, what happens when you eat that strawberry, right? And a lot of times it's like, oh, my tongue feels weird, or, but it's not, but if it's anaphylactic and they say, oh, I got to carry this EpiPen around, then I go, okay, same as you with the pineapple, like, I'm not going to push this. But if it's something that's very mild, usually that, Juice Plus does not aggravate that. Okay, I have to ask you one more question before I let you go. You said something in the beginning that I think I heard right. The person that introduced Juice Plus to you, they followed up with you 7 times over 12 weeks?
That's correct.
Can you tell me about that? Were you annoyed at all? You said that she kept asking your permission. Can you tell us, I think there's a lesson here for us all to learn. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I would be happy to. There is a lesson. It's a wonderful lesson. So I've actually told her several times over the past year or two, especially, how deeply grateful I am that she didn't give up on me, because my life is wonderful. I am so thankful. I'm really full of passion, full of purpose, have the freedom. We picked up and just moved to be in the city where most of our children are and our grandchildren. And every day I feel I can help people from my garden, from my little inside garden. I can help people in a way that I could not with a prescription pad only. And I'm not knocking drugs, and I love our healthcare. I've already said that. But with the knowledge I had gained over the years, I got to the point where this is what I needed in my life, this purpose. And then I didn't realize the freedom that would come with it, but it did. So bottom line, I have told her with tears in my eyes how grateful I am that she called me in follow-up the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, sixth time, and the seventh time. Because if she hadn't done the seventh time, I wouldn't even be here with all of you. I'm serious. I was very stressed. My husband had developed PTSD, being an emergency physician for almost 30 years. His health was starting to fail, and he had been very strong prior to that. 4 teenagers, these kind of things were going on. And I couldn't swallow capsules, and nobody had told me I could open them, because most people that were on them or taking them had no trouble swallowing them, so they didn't think of opening them, right? So with all those factors, that's what it required for me to pay attention. And it was her always asking instead of telling me. She asked, you're going to love this part. I'll tell you this part. She just would, as I had mentioned, she asked if it could possibly help your children, would you be open? I love those 3 words. Would you be open to seeing the medical research? Now, not everybody needs that or wants that. She knew both my parents were biomedical researchers for their entire adult lives. And I was trained at Yale. So I wanted validation. Not everybody needs that, and I understand that. But she knew that that might be an opening for me, and that it could help my children. And then when that last 7th call, she said, do you think it might make sense? Would you like to start with one of your kids on this free program? And I said, yes, I'd like to start with my son, Dan, who has asthma now. And he can swallow the capsules. That's the other thing. I didn't know if my kids could swallow capsules, so they weren't on meds before. It turns out they had no problem with it. So then she said, now you're going to love this. I love this part. It was a question again. Are there any other people you've ever thought of sharing this with? And just silence. You want to be quiet after you ask a question, because you want to let them process and answer. And it's an honor to them, and they feel safe and they feel comfortable. Don't keep talking. You ask a question, you're silent, you are giving space and honor. Is there anyone else you've thought of sharing this with? I said every single other parent in my entire, that whole school. Yes, I have thought of every other parent in that entire school with this free children's program. She said, you might want to consider being a partner so that you have the right to share it when you feel generous. Now, I didn't know anything about being a partner, or no one in my entire family, my extended family, was in business. They were all in different endeavors, not business. And so I wasn't looking for a business, but it just made sense. I had the right to share it, right? And so, and then she asked me another question. Would you like me to fax that in for you? Remember, I don't know if you remember, we had to fax everything. All orders and all applications were faxed in 20 years ago. and I didn't have a fax machine and I didn't want a fax machine. She said, would you like me to fax that in for you and distribute your application? I said, okay, sure. And within 2 years, we were an NMD team. So pure passion and supported by someone who cared and asked questions and did great follow-up. Yeah.
Well, I love that. Gosh, there's so many lessons in the fact that she asked you, would you like me to fax that in for you? We were just, just trained at the last conference. And that was one of the things, like, do you want me to box that up for you? A lot of times when you're texting back and forth or you're talking to people and they say, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing, but they still don't tell you that they want the order. Like, you still have to ask for the sale. You still have to assume, you still have to ask, would you like me to put that order in for you today? Would you like your son to get started on that product of Monday?
Yes. And you know what it is, Christy? It's making it easy for them to do what they're wanting to do. That's all it is making it feasible, making it easy for them. And if they don't want it, they will tell you. So, and plus we can undo everything anyway, right? We have refunds and all of that. So you're making it easy for them, and people deserve that in today's challenging world.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Well, my goodness, this has been such a pleasure, Candace, Dr. Corson, everybody. I think that from the activity in the chat, you know that we're bringing you the best of the best every Tuesday. The link to get your Level Up tickets is in.
All right. There's just a little bit more at the end of that. So if you want to listen to a couple more questions, but you can listen to that on your own. But just to listen to her wisdom. I mean, she's been with Juice Plus 21 years. I've been with Juice Plus over 25 years. And we have learned from so many physicians that have figured out the benefits of Juice Plus and plant-based nutrition and plant diets. So I just want you to remember a few things, that Juice Plus is just plants. That's it. When you ask somebody, have you heard of Juice Plus? What is it? I always love to ask them, what have you heard? What is Juice Plus? What do you think it is? And they don't know. They think it's a juice or a vitamin or whatever it might be. So that's a good question to ask them. What have you heard? The other thing is to remember that it's simple, safe, and the #1 researched whole food concentrate in the world. So we have a lot to share with other people, and we have a lot of people that need the benefits we've been enjoying. And just the last thing is to try to impress on them, or try to get them to understand the compound effect of whole food nutrition, because it's just like exercise. You can't exercise 1 week and expect to, run a marathon or win a fight or whatever it is. It's the same thing with Juice Plus. You can't take it 1 week, 1 month, 1 day, whatever it is. The more you take it, the more benefits you're going to receive from Juice Plus. So I challenge you to go out and ask some questions and be quiet. That's kind of my problem, that second part, because I just want to tell them everything I know and I've learned, but they don't need to know all that right away. They just need to slowly learn what they need to learn as they need to learn it. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, and please share this with other people. All right. Have a blessed evening. Good night.
Judy, you want me to share the end?
You can if you want.
I'll go for it.
Just a little bit left.
Okay.
In the chat. So remember August 13th. If anybody wants to find those links. Oh, all the recordings are in our Facebook group, our Las Vegas Level Up Facebook group too. That link is in the chat as well. I just saw Cynthia and Lee posted that close to the bottom. So I'll keep this open if you guys want to go in there and copy for maybe 60, 90 seconds, and have a great night. Thanks again, Dr. Corson.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Christy. Thank you, everybody, for caring so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, you may want to
Thank
take
you,
a look at
Dr.
that.
Corson. Thank
There's
you.
a lot of good messages in the chat there to you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wonderful. Dr. Corson, do you take the new shake that we have, the new protein?
I have tried it. I think it really has a lot of value to a lot of people. I'm impressed with the increased performance that's very obvious to many people who use it as a pre or post exercise drink. I am so in love with the Complete that that's what I'm sticking with. What I love about the Complete is the complex, elegant fiber of the ancient grains. non-gluten. And
Yeah.
those are, as you know, a functional food, as Dr. Du Bois used to say, it's a functional food. It helps the good germs grow in ways that are even different, additional to the way that the micronutrients of the capsules do. So the Complete has been my mainstay. I have used it for breakfast every day for 21 years without exaggerating. Every day, no matter what. I love it. My husband loves it as well. It just works for us. But I think the performance, the Perform, Juice Plus Perform, which is a different, higher in protein if you use the 2 scoops that go with that. It doesn't have the fiber, and athletes many of them had requested, let's do one without the fiber load because I'm going to go work all out. I totally get that. But what it does have, in addition to the good pure protein, the Perform has a lot of beautiful micronutrients, and you can see it in the color, that brilliant, what would you say, the most dark fuchsia color you could imagine, from the beets and the papaya and all the good things in there. So it's a wonderful thing. And I know a lot of people who really, really love it. I personally am just sticking with the Complete because I love it so much. I just can't stand to switch off of it.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to that. I know I've made you go over, but thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's going to help me.
Veronica.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You're
Good
welcome.
question, Veronica. There's a lot of good that just came out of there. Thanks for asking that.
One thing I can say, I think that might be touching to some of you. My sister was on the phone with me just a few weeks ago and asked me, she's younger than me, how had I lost any height or how tall was I? We live about 3,000 miles apart, and this really touched me. She hasn't been on Juice Plus, and that's not a criticism at all. She's had some malabsorption problems, which I would love to solve somehow. But I said I'm the same height as when I was 18. And I hadn't even realized that. Our mother had very severe osteoporosis, very, very severe. So she just basically said, oh my goodness, I've lost 3 inches. And I haven't lost any since I was 18. So I do attribute a great deal of it to going plant-based. I went plant-based at age 18. And that was because I almost died. Not to be too dramatic, but this was 2 years before Dr. Heimlich wrote down the Heimlich maneuver. So there was not a Heimlich maneuver. 2 years prior to that, I almost had a near total choking event with London broil beef in the dining hall as a young college student. And people didn't know the Heimlich maneuver. I realized, I just barely made it. I realized I can't do that anymore. I can never do that again, because a bolus of meat will be the main killer of people in that situation. And so it's been to my advantage. I became a vegetarian. And then later when I learned more, I became vegan for the most part. But nobody has to do that. Just adding Juice Plus is enough to make an enormous difference. No matter what you eat, even the Ensure, just add the Juice Plus, and it really is that powerful. It makes a difference.
My goodness, so many lessons
Awesome.
learned tonight. Thank you so much. Get your tickets,
You're welcome.
everybody. Links are
Good night, everyone.
There you go. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.